channel. I am Amber from Amber's Books and More, and today I have my top 17 books of 2017. Now this is not necessarily books that were published in 2017, though some of them do include that, but this is more about the top 17 books that I read in 2017. So all of these books I rated 5 stars only. I did not include any 4-star books. I do have a couple of series that some of the books in the series were 4 stars, but at least one of the books in the series was a total 5-star for me. So there's quite a bit of books, 17, so let's just jump right in and get started. So this is in no particular order, but the first series that I want to talk about is the Darker Shade of Magic series. So the Darker Shade of Magic series is by V.E. Schwab. It is adult-ish fantasy about a magician that can use blood magic to go into different parallel worlds of London, and this has 3 books in the series right now. She is writing a new series that is based on the same world. I think it's actually different characters, but our characters are going to make an appearance. But I really enjoyed this series. It is not, I would say, like my all-time favorite fantasy series, but it definitely introduced me to my love of Victoria Schwab, and it's one that I would recommend to people that are just getting into fantasy but don't want to go into the super high fantasy, you know, for the adult fantasy books, but it is very good, though. I do recommend it. So the next series, I read 2 of the books this year. The 3rd book will be coming out next year, I believe, but that is an Ember in the Ashes series by Saba Tahir. This is kind of like a dystopian type fantasy novel. It's set in kind of more of a Roman times, and it's very diverse. It is fast-paced. It has a very good villain, like one of the villains that are actually like scary as hell, and I definitely love this. I gave both books that are in the series so far 5 out of 5 stars, so this is definitely one of my all-time favorite fantasy series, and I highly recommend it. So the next book is probably one of my top 3 favorite books that are standalones of the year, and that is The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. This is about a generation of women, so there's like 3 generations, but the main focus is Ava Lavender. She was born with wings. This is magical realism, and it was my first foray into magical realism, and I cannot be happier that I finally read this. It was really cool, and so I actually want to give away on I want to give away on Instagram that Leslie Walton was running, and so because of that, she sent me a personalized signed book plate here that says, "Amber, may you always fly with your own wings." And I'm really excited that I got that. She has a new book coming out that I'm really excited about. It's not the same, it's another standalone, but I definitely 5 out of 5 stars. Of course, all of these are, but I highly recommend you read this, even if you don't like magical realism. There's so little magic in this that it's just kind of like a heartbreaking and beautiful to contemporary, in my opinion. So the next book is another standalone, and it is called Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I love this cover. I actually like the cover for the hardcover a little bit better, but I like how floppy the paperback was, so I decided to get the paperback, and I do still like the cover. It's got kind of like this orange on the inside. So this is kind of more of a sci-fi thriller kind of book. I can't really talk much about it because I don't want to give anything away, but just know that there is the main character's name is Jason. So he's a science professor at a college, and he has always loved science and always been kind of a scientist-y type guy. And one day somebody hits him over the head and takes him to this weird place, and when he wakes up, his life is totally different. He has a different job. His wife doesn't know him. It's pretty crazy. So it's definitely something that I recommend if you enjoy thriller sci-fi type books. It's very low on the sci-fi scale, so it's not a scary sci-fi, and I definitely recommend it. It blew my mind, and I did not think the same way for weeks after reading this book. So the next is a series, and it is a series that I absolutely fell in love with. I actually read the first book because of Java and the Librarians book club. It was one of the months that we decided to read this book, and it was so good that I read the entire series. And it's a new favorite series, and that is The Girl in 6E by A.R. Torre. So this is following Deanna Madden. She is basically a girl that has homicidal tendencies, and so to keep herself from killing anyone, she has locked herself in this apartment, and she's a cam girl for money. It sounds crazy, but it is awesome. You can tell that A.R. Torre has a background in psychology because the way that she gets into the mind of these characters, and how you don't like, they're very gray characters. So if you like gray characters, they're perfect. You don't really know what their motivations are most of the time, but it's a great series. It's got a little bit of erotic in there, but honestly, like this one, like once you get about this far in, you know, it's like, it's mostly thriller. I enjoyed it. So the next series that is on my list is actually a graphic novel series that I have absolutely fallen in love with. I started reading this because of Allie over at Hardback Quarter has been like getting everyone to read it, and I jumped in on that train, and I'm happy that I did because I love it. And it is I Hate Fairyland. There are 3 volumes out. The 4th volume comes out in January, I think, or March. I can't remember which one. But I am really excited. So the third volume is called The Good Girl. This is the first volume, and it is absolutely 100% my favorite. But it's still a good series. I gave the first one 5 stars, the second one 4 stars, and then I gave the third one 5 stars again. So it's definitely high up there. The art is absolutely fantastic. I mean, just look at this art. It's so pretty, and it's so graphically crazy, and like, it's just, it's so good. Read it. Thank you, Allie. So the next series I absolutely loved so much, and it is Illuminae. This is by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, and so it's Illuminae is book 1, Gemina is book 2, and Obsidio book 3 is coming out in March, I believe, March or April. And this is a sci-fi series that is based in the very far future. It's all in space mostly, and it is kind of told in, see, this is like emails, and then it also has like here, this is where the artificial intelligent Aiden speaks through, and they're always black when he speaks. And it has, let me find a really cool, so you can see, so sometimes it's kind of done like this, to where the words make a picture. It's just so cool. And so the mixed media format is really so this is, I don't want to show that because that's a spoiler. And it even has like pictures of the spaceships and everything in here. It is just really cool. And under the dust jacket, these things are just so cool. Let me get it out. Get it out. It's like classified information, and it's like redacted and everything. It's just really cool, and I highly recommend it. I've heard that the audiobooks for this are really good, and probably with Obsidio I will be getting the audiobook with it as well. But I just think that this is very visual, so if you do listen to the audiobook, maybe follow along in the book because it's just so much to see there. And yeah, I love it. So the next book is Little and Lion by Brandy Colbert. This was about a girl named Little and her brother named Lion, and Little is bisexual and black, and Lion is straight and white, but he has bipolar disorder, and it's just overall so good. Everything in it is so good. It's a contemporary. Thank you, Chelsea, for making me read this over at Chelsea Dollarines. I will leave anybody I mention having read something because of them, I'll definitely leave it down below. But this is was so good. I got this from Book of the Month Club, and I'm glad I did because it was awesome. So the next series I want to talk about, I actually don't have any physical copies of yet, but I have read all of these. These are another graphic novel series, and it is Saga. I'll leave volume 1 here. It's a kind of sci-fi futuristic graphic novel with really great art, and it's told about these two people that were not supposed to be together, from two different worlds, that were at war against each other, but now they're on the run because nobody wants them to be together, and it's told from the eyes of the baby that they have. It's great. Pick it up. It's worth it. It's on Hoopla. If you don't know what Hoopla is, it is a free app that you can get for your library. This is definitely not sponsored, guys. I wish Hoopla would sponsor me because that would be awesome. But just read it. It's great. So the next one is one that I was actually really terrified to read because the author is a very good friend of mine. And, you know, it's always hard when you read something from someone that you know in real life because you're scared that you won't like it. But that's not the case with this one, and that is Shoot Down the Windy Bird by Julie Xantopoulos. She is Pages and Pens here on BookTube, and this book is actually, the old cover, it has the collection of short stories, which now it says flash fiction on the new ones. But this was so good. There was a few stories in here that made me cry, and a few stories in here that made me feel like somebody understood me. And this is flash fiction, so this is like 100, 200 words, 2-3 pages, that's it. And the characterization of these characters and the poems were just, it was great. This is on Amazon, pick it up. So the next series is The Diviners by Libba Bray. This has 3 books so far out, and the 4th one will be out sometime this year, I think. So this is basically like a historical fiction meets fantasy, kind of. I don't know. It's basically 1920s New York City. There are these diviners which have special abilities. You have one that can heal people. You have one that can touch an object and know everything about around the, like could see it. You have a person that can walk in dreams. It's just things like that. And there's ghosties and there's craziness, and it's so good. So good. So good. And these new covers, gorgeous. So the next one is another sci-fi. I really enjoy sci-fi. I've realized that this year. But it is The Long Way to a Small and Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This is a group of characters on a ship, and they're from all different worlds. So this is definitely in the future. They're on a ship, right? All different worlds, all different species, and the characters in this make it so worthwhile. There is some sciencey bits in it, because they're creating wormholes and things like that, but the characters make it so worth it. And this gorgeous cover that is a UK edition that you can get on Book Depository, but it is beautiful and I love it. So the next is another sci-fi series. You see a trend, and that is These Broken Stars by Amy Coffin and Megan Spooner. Once again, I picked these up because of the gorgeous covers, and it's actually, the series is really good. It's kind of, so the series is companions, but within the same series. So like, this is how Amy Coffin, even the Illuminate is like this. They're about different characters who all come together at the end, and kind of take down the corporation is their goal. And there's some weird things going on, and the audiobooks are creepy because there's like these whispering stuff, and it's great. It's great. I love it. So the next ones are, once again, a sci-fi series. I don't know. I'm really sorry. I read a lot of great sci-fi this year. And this one was a surprise hit. Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel. So Sleeping Giants and Waking Gods are both out. Both of these were great 5 stars for me. The next one, which is called Only Human, is coming out in January, I think. Maybe March, I don't know. It's coming out soon. The reason I picked this up is because A, it was sci-fi. B, it's told in a, it's like an interview format. And then that in itself was like, yeah, it sounds kind of interesting. But then I saw the naked cover. Ha 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 ha. Gorgeous, just so pretty. And so I picked it up. It's about this girl that is walking one day when she's like 8 years old, falls into a hole and lands on a giant robot hand. And so then, you know, flash forward like 20 years later, she's now a scientist working on finding out where did this hand come from? Are there more pieces of this hand? And it's so good, and there were so many surprise moments in it. And I listened to the audiobook, which is a full cast of characters in like an interview format back and forth. Great. Loved it. Definitely suggest it. It's not super long. It's easy to get through, but it's a great series. So the next series is my last graphic novel series of the top 17, and this one is the Wicked and the Divine series, and this is by, I'm gonna mess up these names, but it looks like Gillen McKelvey and Wilson Cowles. This caught my eye because of the art style in it. So when I first opened this up, I'll even open it to like the first thing I saw, and somebody recommended this to me. And when I saw this art style, it was the first time that I ever thought the word aesthetic ever applied to me. So this is basically a group of characters that are gods and goddesses, and every 90 years they come in the form of teenagers. Then they turn into their god form, but once they turn, they are dead within 2 years. And so there's five of these out, and the next one comes out in the next month or so, and it's so good, and I love it so much. And there is one that had like some guest not narrators, but the artist, and I didn't like that one as much, but overall the story I've really enjoyed. It's crazy, it's a little out there, but it's good. So my next series is a sci-fi series. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. But it is Cinder, which is the Lunar Chronicle. So there's Cinder, Scarlet, Crest, and Winter. And there's also some extra things thrown in there. But I really enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. So basically each one is a sci-fi take on a old fairy tale. So Cinder is Cinderella, and then you have Scarlet, which is Little Red Riding Hood. You have Crest, which is, oh, what's the chick in the tower? You know the chick in the tower with long hair? I can't think of her name. And then Winter is, here, my pretty, the apple. I have issues. I can't remember names today. Rapunzel is Crest, and Snow White is Winter. But they're all, like, this cast of characters gets added onto that one and gets added onto that one. So they're all there. It's just from different perspectives. And it's actually really good, and I enjoyed the way it ended. And it's sci-fi, and it's in the future. And Queen Lavanna was terrifying, and I loved her. Read it. So my last one on my top 17 list, I saved for last on purpose because it is my all-time favorite book that I have read this year, period. But the fact that this book is a contemporary is crazy. I'm not a big contemporary person. Obviously, I like a lot of sci-fi because that's what I read. But this one is a contemporary. You're probably not surprised that this was my all-time favorite book. This book made me laugh. This book made me cry ugly tears. And this book made me think of the world differently. And this book needs to be... it's already great. I mean, it's already got a movie. It's already like nationally bestseller, international bestseller. But I think it needs to become required reading in school. Why? Because it's The Hate U Give. And I'm actually really upset that there's a Texas high school that has banned this, because I'm from Texas, and that's not cool, Texas. That's not cool. It's not here though, where I live. It's in like a small rather southern town. But anyway, so in this cover, it has Star on the front, and it has Jaleel on the back, and it's about a girl who witnesses her best friend get murdered by a cop because he's black, and it's inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement, and it made me think of that movement in a different light, and it made me understand it much, much better. And I feel like I'm a better ally now that I understand it a little more. And one of my goals in 2018 is to read more books like this that are that are mind-changing, because this really did change my mind, and I don't want to be like, oh, I'm woke and I'm a perfect ally because I read this one book. That's not how it goes. I want to do more, and I want to read more, and I want to know more. So either way, aside from that, the writing in this book, Angie Thomas wrote this book, and her writing style is so good. She does dialogue perfectly. She's just so good. There's so many things that I remember about this book that I still will giggle at or make me cry when I think about them, and I'm really happy that I read this. Okay, that's it. That is all top 17 books of 2017. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you liked or disliked any of these books. Let me know what your favorites of the year were. I read 127 books so far this year, and so there's a lot. Even to narrow down to the top 17 was hard, so I definitely have more top 5 or 5 stars and top ones that I loved that just happened to not fall into these 17. And I have a lot that were like 4 stars that I still loved but were not top 17, right? So that's all I have for you. Until next time, have a great day wherever you are, and I love you. Bye.